This is Into Math 3rd grade, lesson 18.2, Make Picture Graphs. I can draw a scaled picture graph to solve how many more and how many less problems. Please gather your workbook and a pencil and turn to page 462. You can pause this video at any time as needed. We will begin under Build Understanding. Part 1. Mr. Home counts and records in a table the number of tools he has. So we'll look over at the graph and we see that the title says Tool Supply. It has a list of 4 tools and the number of tools next to each tool that Mr. Home has. Let's look at part A. How can you tell what a picture graph is about? We know that this graph is about tool supply because it has a title. We also know that the categories are tools and numbers, and so that's how we're going to find the information for the tool supply. So we can answer, the title and categories describe what the graph is about. Let's look at part B. How many should one symbol represent? Choose a number greater than 1. So this is where you get to pick the symbol, the number that is going to go with the symbol for your picture graph. And when I look over here at the numbers, I'm noticing that these numbers, I usually like to look at those numbers to see what number might be a good match for them. And I'm seeing that the biggest number is 24 right here. And the smallest number is 8. So I think I'm going to choose the number 4 because I'm just noticing that some of my numbers are a little bit bigger and I'm noticing that my smallest number is 8. So that's what I'm going to choose. So now let's take a look at part C. How many symbols will you draw for each tool? So now I'm going to look and see using the symbol that we create. I'm going to say that each symbol counts for 4. So I'm taking a look at each number. Starting with screwdriver, there are 8 screwdrivers. Well, if we're using the number 4 to represent each symbol, then I will need 2 symbols for the screwdriver because 4 and 4 make 8. Then I'll take a look at the wrenches, and the wrenches, there are 12. So that means I need 3 symbols for the wrenches because 4 plus 4 plus 4 makes 12. Maybe you want to pause and try the last 2 on your own and come back, or you can follow along with me if you like. Okay, so for the bolts, we have 24. So I'm going to count by 4s till we get to 24. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So I counted 6 4s, so I will use 6 symbols because they each stand for 4. All right, let's take a look at the last one. The nuts that he has for the tools is 18. So we can start counting by 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Oh, that's too many. So we have 4 symbols, but we're going to have some left over because 4 times is 16, and then we would have 17, 18. So we'd have 2 left over. So this little message here tells us to think half of the symbol stands for half the value of the whole symbol. Well, what is half of 4? Half of 4 is 2. So that's what we have left when we're getting the number 18 using the symbols counting by 4. So we will say that we are going to use 4 and a half because we will use half of a symbol to represent the 2. Okay, so now we are ready to make a picture graph of the data. So I have brought over the tool supply graph that Mr. Hom used, and we've already worked out some of the details with parts A, B, and C, and now it's our turn to create the pictograph. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to make the title, and the title, it should be the same that we used before, but we can name that Tool Supply. So go ahead and write that at the top there. That is our title. And then of course we have our categories. So go ahead and write the categories into the 4 spots. These are the tools that Mr. Home uses. And so when you are finished, it should look like this. And so now what we need to do, and you can pause if you need to write those, if you need a little more time. Now what we need to do is at the bottom here where it says key, each blank equals blank tools. This is where we're going to write, draw in a symbol, and we're going to write what that symbol represents. So I'm going to use a blue square, and I'm letting the pictograph represent 1 blue square equals 4 tools. So now that I have my symbol, which is the blue square, and the key that tells us that that means 4 tools, I can start filling in the pictograph. And remember, we already wrote this information in part C. So if you'd like to pause and try this part on your own and come back, you may do so, or just follow along with me. So I see the first one is screwdriver, and I know that I need to make 2 symbols because screwdriver had 8. So here are my 2 squares to represent the screwdriver. Now let's take a look at wrenches. Wrenches has 3 symbols because wrenches total is 12. So I will draw 3 squares. Now we will take a look at bolts. And bolts need 6 symbols because bolts has 24 is the number of tools. So I will draw 6 symbols to represent the 24 bolts on the tool supply. The last one we will look at are the nuts for 4.5 symbols, and that's because the nuts have 18, and so we will need to draw 4.5 symbols to represent the 18 tools. And when we are done, we have completed our pictograph for the tool supply. Let's take a look at the next page, page 463, under Step It Out, Part 2. It asks us to use the table to record data for the number of each item in your classroom. So it has classroom items, the item, and the number. And then the information that they're looking for are bins, closets, desks, posters, and shelves. So you can look around your house if you want to, and complete this, or you can just follow along with me, and I'm going to go ahead and write some numbers in that I would pretend that would be in the classroom. So there'd be 14 bins, 8 closets, 18 desks, maybe 12 posters, and 10 shelves. So you're welcome to write in these numbers if you like, or you may pause and write in your own numbers from around your house. Now let's take a look at the next direction. Use the data in the table to make a picture graph. First part asks us to write the title. Write the items in the left column and choose a symbol. So that's 3 directions. So our first direction is to write the title, which we know is classroom items. So you can go ahead and write that title right at the top here. The next direction asks us to write the items in the left column, which are right here. So we are going to write bins, closet, desks, posters, and shelves for the items on the pictograph. And again, you can pause this if needed. Our last direction asks us to choose a symbol. I'm going to choose a green circle for my symbol, and I'm going to put that in the key, which is located at the bottom of the pictograph. Part B asks us to choose a number greater than 1 for what the symbol represents. and they do give us a little think reminder that says, do you need to use half of a symbol? So we're going to take a look at our numbers. And I'm seeing here that at least my numbers, the smallest number I have is 8, and the biggest number I have is 18. So I'm noticing that I'm probably going to use the same number that I used in my last one, which was 4. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in the key here, that one green circle is going to equal 4 items. And part C asks us now to draw the symbols in each row. So again, if you'd like to pause and try this on your own and come back, you may do so, or you can follow along with me. So the first one we start with is bins, and we see that with the bins there are 14 bins. So we are going to count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16. Oops, that goes over. So we have 3 symbols to draw, but that leaves us with 12. So we'll draw 1, 2, 3, and then because that only gives us 12 and there's 14, that means there's 13, 14, there's 2 left over, and 2 is half of 4, so we will just draw half of a symbol to represent the 2 that we need to complete all the numbers for bins, which is 14. Okay, now we take a look at the closets, and for closets there are 8, and so we can count by 4s, 4, 8, and we only need 2. So we'll draw in 2 symbols to represent the closets. Next, we will go to desks, which is 18. And so we will count by 4s to know how many symbols to draw. So we'll say 4, 8, 12, 16. And then if we go one more, it would be 20. So we have to stop there. And so if we're at 16, how many more till we reach 18? 17, 18. There's only 2 more to get to the number 18, and we already know what to do. We're going to draw half of a symbol to represent 2 items. So now desks shows 18 items. All right, we're ready to go on to posters, and posters has the number 12. So we are going to draw 1, which is 4, 2, which would be 8, and 3, which would be 12. So we only have to draw 3 symbols for posters. And the final one is shelves, which is 10 items. So we would start by drawing 4, 8, and we know that the next one would bring us to 12, so we have to stop there. And now we need to see how many more to get to 10. So we have 8, 9, 10, that's 2. So we're going to need to draw half the symbol to represent 2, which now shows us that shelves has a total of 10 items. Okay, we have completed our pictograph. Now we're going to look at part D, and this asks, what equation can you write to find how many fewer closets than desks there are? And then it asks us to solve this problem. Okay, so we know closets has 8, and we know that desks has 18. So we're trying to find out how many fewer closets than desks we have. So desks is the bigger number here, so we're going to write 18 for the desks. And then we're going to take away the amount of closets. And what was that number of closets again? That's right, it's 8. So we're going to take that away. And now we have an equation. And now we need to solve this equation. 18 take away 8 is 10. So we can answer that there were 10 fewer closets. And if you would like to go back and watch this video, you can do so at any time and pause along the way as you need.